Grace is your higher education. Bless you like messiahs and celestial patrons. False messengers and liars left you pacing, restless like wandering ghosts.
Shalom. Right now I want you to examine this and ask yourself, what is this picture? And you would obviously say it's a painting, symbolizing that it is one painting, or it is one. And this is similar to how we see the world. The world is one, but we tend to divide, and that's what I plan to go into at this time. Concepts. If we're looking at this painting, we just see a multitude of colors. How do colors come into being? Well, if anybody understands how colors come into being, all colors come from light. For instance, a rainbow. A rainbow is nothing but a culmination of air, moisture, and light. And the reason it has so many colors is because of the light that's piercing through the air and moisture. Similarly, the so-called world comes into color from the light of your being, or of the light that you are. And so if we were to look at this, imagine this is the world. We have just been born and we see this. And so what man begins to do is begins to divide that which is one into many by the use of concepts. And humans begin to conceptualize qualities of experience. For instance, the softness of a rose petal, or the hardness of a table, or the smell of an orange, or the taste of a banana. Or the texture of hair. We begin to conceptualize these things and name these things that we see. So right here in this picture, imagine nothing is named. It's just one experience. And so what happens with man and how he becomes divided is the mind begins to conceptualize things. For instance, man will look at his experience right here and look up in the upper left corner and say, oh, that light blue, that's a sky. And the white things within the sky that I named we're going to name clouds. Right? And the brown that's in the upper middle of this experience, we are going to call a cliff. And down below the cliff, we see rocks. And surrounding the rocks, we will name that water. And to the right of the cliff, we're going to name that a wall. And below the wall, the brick wall, we are going to say that is sand. And below the sand, we see pieces of wood. We'll label that wood, or a shipwreck. Now, what tends to happen once we begin to name these things, we begin to separate them out as if they have an existence all on their own. but which I didn't start with, what I want us to actually envision is that we are this one single photo. There is no division. It's just one photo, and we are that photo. Okay? And so when we begin to label these things, and let's say right in the sea, right by the sand, there is a giant green squid. All right, so we're labeling all these things. And what tends to happen is we give concepts to certain qualities we suppose we similarly experience in the experience called life. So the cliff, we've seen a lot of cliffs, so we're going to call that a cliff, and we all agree on this concept. And what tends to happen is these concepts give a so-called reality to these things, such as the thing we label cloud. And it gives it an existence of its own. Like it exists separate from all the other things. And so if we were to go up and touch the cliff, we don't experience the cliff being hard. All we experience in our true experience is hardness. See, the cliff is just a concept. We call this image. The concept is not real. The cliff being hard is not reality. What true reality is the experience of just hardness at that moment of the touch. Or if we were to dip our finger in the ocean right here, when we touch it, all we experience is a concept called wetness. We don't experience an ocean being wet, but these concepts arise in us, and they give birth to a separate ocean that is wet. You understand? But all we experience at the time of touching is wetness. Or when we touch the cliff, hardness. Or when we see the cloud up in the sky, we call that another concept, which is white, but whiteness. Right? We experience the perception of white, which we label clouds, and we give them a reality or a life of their own, independent of all other things. And so imagine if we were able to look down from this experience right here. We're looking at a cliff, ocean, all these labels, cloud. We were able to look down and we would see our legs and our arm, right? Imagine we could look down right now and see our legs and our arms. They would also be in this picture. And so we begin to label these legs and arms. We would say, well, this is me. This is who I am. Opposed to the cliff, the ocean, the wall, the squid, the clouds, the sky. We say, well, this is me. And this is what the mind tends to do. It divides things and gives them an existence of their own. But none of this exists outside this one experience or this one picture or this one frame. So why does this happen? Well, maybe because when I look at these arms and legs, they appear to be around longer than this ocean. I turn around, the ocean doesn't exist. Or the ocean is not in my perception. But if you close your eyes, your body is not in your perception as well. Well, everywhere I walk, I seem to look down and it's the same body. Well, just because the experience of the clouds might be gone longer than the experience of your body, they both change. Although your body may change at a slower rate, it's still a changing image of the world that you see. What you are never changes. You are the one experiencing the whole picture. The whole picture is one. So although the picture can change, you are separate because you experience the picture changing. Your body changes, your thoughts change, your feelings change. But when we start to put concepts on the images of color, we begin to give them a reality of their own. Even the reality of the body. The concept of the body is just an experience, whether of aching or softness. All you feeling is softness. You're not feeling a body that is soft, but you experience the softness when you touch a part of your skin or thigh or whatever it may be. And this is how life is. It's just an experience of multiple colors. One experience of multiple colors that we begin to label and separate out and divide. And once we begin to name these things, we begin to believe that they are real. But the reality of all these things is the one experiencing it all. That never changes. And so, once we get past the mind labeling things, and we look at the whole picture from a point of view of no labels, although labels are necessary to operate in the world that bodies live in. Concepts are necessary. It's necessary to tell somebody, don't stand next to the cliff, you may fall. But again, cliff is not an experience. Cliff is a concept. The ocean being wet is not an experience. That is a concept. Wetness, or the experience of wetness, is an experience. Although wetness is a concept, so it's hard to explain in words. So the point of this is that concepts tend to separate you to believe you are one of the figures in the scene when you are actually the whole scene. Concepts, mind tends to divide, in which accumulates to you dividing yourself from the whole picture. And so when I say, for instance, cliff is a concept, right? It's not reality. It's just a concept. Hardness might be an experience, but cliff is just a concept, because to a bird, that is not a cliff. Only to your perspective, it is a cliff. Or even when we label water, because it is blue and it has a certain image to it. Only to a human would that be an ocean. To a bee might not see that ocean as blue, so he might not label it an ocean. So it doesn't stand true for all things. It stands true for your perspective, which in that case it wouldn't be the truth. It wouldn't be the reality. Reality holds consistent for all things. It holds true for all things. So the experience of hardness, if I touched a cliff and a bee smacked into that cliff, we'd experience the same thing. Although the bee might not call it hardness, the experience would be the same. That would be true. And so I just wanted to talk about concepts and how it divides us and constricts us into the experience of one thing when we are actually the whole thing. We are the whole thing. There is no separation from the experience and the experiencer. These are just concepts. So with that,